Meeting to order then. Let's call the meeting to order at 6:03. Welcome everybody. I thought I was going to see all your beautiful faces up live and personal, but apparently the powers to be have kept us on a so-called lockdown for a little while longer. Hopefully it doesn't last that much longer. We can get ourselves back in the mainstream of things. So are the recording people on the phone, Michelle?
I don't see a stenographer on right now, but I know that it's being recorded, so they will get a copy of this and then they'll do it that way, I guess. Okay, hopefully we get a discount. All right, yeah. So the roll call, do you want to do the, make note of the members from the commission that are on the call so far? Sure. Okay, so yep. That takes care of that. Let's do the pledge. Dennis, you want to lead us on the pledge, please?
What did you say?
You want to lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And let's all pray for the people in Afghanistan, especially all the Americans, and the turmoil and the troubles that we have over there at this particular juncture in time.
Hear, hear.
All right, so John, I'll turn the meeting over to you for application review.
Okay, yeah, we can probably get through most of this certainly in a hurry, and not take too much time, especially with the first item on the list here. The first item that I have on the list is actually was a referral from the NOAA Zoning Commission regarding industrial zone amendments. And what they did, what was sent around was they made an amendment to work that was going to be taking place at 25 Van Zandt Street. And this was a project the Zoning Commission had sent around. Let me see if I can find that here.
I was doing a vocational school there, I think, wasn't it?
Well, it was beyond that, John. This was they made a text amendment in there, but we really don't have anything definitive to say because it doesn't affect, again, directly some of the harbor management issues that we're confronted with.
Yeah, I guess the language change was to allow what the use is gonna be.
Right. Now let me just step back a little with that, because back in 2018 we had reviewed an application. I can't get this done. We had reviewed an application, that application for 25 Van Zandt Street. It was a CAM application, and the applicant at that time was Winthrop Baum, right, and proposed to remodel an existing office building, which is the 25 Van Zandt Street, to house several trade schools, right, within the newly designed workforce training center. That was the square footage that they had mentioned. Several proposed tenants that will occupy the space will provide vocational, remedial, and technical training that include, but not limited to, such professions as auto mechanics, welding, plumbing, electrical, cosmetology, hairdressing, nursing, medical assistance, robotics, and English as a second language, information technology, carpentry, and real estate. So it was sort of a conglomerate of mixed use. And what they did not do in that application is to make provisions for any effluent that, for example, if there's an auto mechanic shop there, I mean, I'm sure they're going to have waste material. There's going to be stuff coming from that building. And as you know, that was the previous site of the hat factory, which they had a mercury problem several years back. And so certainly we're very cautious about what might come out of that area, because there still might be some problems with regard to the remediation of the land around that. But in any event, they withdrew that application, and I made comment in that time to Mike Green regarding that issue. And this is under the circumstances of the applicant's non-compliance with required information. The Norfolk Harbor Management Commission will not review their application during this was at that time, the October 23rd meeting, and their application will be deemed insufficient for review. And as I mentioned, as I said in a previous email to Mike Green, and at that time was Brian, this application proposes to proposes to have tenants which provide vocational remedial technical training for a variety of professions that will definitely impact water quality. If their facility does not take proper measures to mitigate potential wastewater or management material runoff, both the Shellfish Commission and Norwalk Harbor Commission are concerned about any kind of effluent that potentially will flow into Norwalk Harbor and ultimately affect water quality. So that was the statement that I sent to them. Now, in the let me see, let me get that up again here. Here it is. In the, where is it here? I lost it. In the comments that they made, they did cite that any proposal that is submitted will be under, for example, will abide by the coastal management provision. So that if they do make mention that we will get review of that application, then I certainly have no problem with the language that they put in there. But that's all, as I said, that I can comment about that one. I mean, we can have a statement that make sure that the Norwalk Harbor Management Commission, if a facility goes in there that has an impact on water quality, then we certainly would want the rights to review that application for its consistency with the harbor management plan.
It's just confirming
that
the authority that we already have.
Right.
Because realistically, if whatever happens, they're going to have to go for additional permits to do it. And then there is compliance. If you have an automobile repair shop, you're required to have oil reclamation and water separator.
Oh, right.
So I would think that they would do that, but it's good to have that statement in there for overall.
All right. Well,
no objection insofar as the proposal isn't addressed in the harbor management plan, but reserve our right to review any future development proposals to.
Yeah. I'm talking to Jeff. Jeff is here with us. Did you hear that?
Can those guys hear me?
Yeah. Could you hear Jeff?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So as I said, I'll contact. Well, actually, get back to Michelle about that, and then Fran DeMiglio, who actually received the letter from zoning over to planning.
But the planning commission received a copy of the referral?
Wait, let me go back to that again.
That's what we have. We have a letter that was sent.
Yeah, this was a letter
from the zoning commission.
It was Fran DeMiglio, and it says, "Dear Mr. Miglio," this is right.
But a similar letter should have been sent to the Harbor Management Commission.
It was sent to her, and then this was addressed to us or sent to us through Michelle.
All right. So I think we should make a formal comment then.
Yeah.
To have no objection to the proposed text change insofar as the added use is not addressed in the harbor management plan, but reserve our right to review all future proposals within the zone for the reasons we talked about.
Yeah, well, they do mention that in the, it says a site plan review, properties located within the coastal zone property boundary shall be subject to coastal site visit plan review and all of the requirements.
That's not ours though. Ours is the harbor management review.
That's correct. Yeah.
So in addition to the coastal site plan review, it's that we need to reference the harbor management review as well.
All right. So we will do that. If there's no objection to that.
I have a question. Who is the applicant? Because it says this is an application for an amendment. Who is actually applying?
Proposed text amendment. The applicant's proposal. Let's see, the applicant.
Who's the applicant?
Yeah, it says here the attached amendment to the building zone regulations has been referred to you. Now, this is from the zoning commission. The zoning commission sent it to Mr. Miglio, who was on planning.
Yeah, but Chris has a good point. Is the amendment being proposed by the zoning commission or by an applicant to the zoning commission for the change, which is often what happens.
Yeah, it says that the attached amendment to the building zone regulations has been referred to you by the Norwalk Zoning Commission. Now, this is a letter to Fran DeMiglio. The proposed amendments will allow vocations and trade schools within 11 zone. Or I'm sorry, I1 or 11, I think it's I1. I'm not sure if that's 11 or 1 zone. The Zoning Commission is referring this application to you for review and comment as per the Connecticut General Statutes. The public hearing is tentatively scheduled for Thursday, September 2nd. Please send your comments on or before that date. That's all I received. That was sent to me.
It sounds like to me that Fran D'Amiglio is looking for comments from us to help her make her decision.
I have to talk to
But
Michelle.
my question is, who is asking for this change? Who's the applicant? Who put forward the application?
Zoning.
No, we don't know. We don't know.
Is that relevant?
I'm trying to see, the application is available on the planning and zoning website. It's a pending application for 25 Van Zant. And I'm trying to see who specifically is the applicant, because it's coming from an outside source. It's not an internal text amendment in application.
I don't know that it's relevant though, but we should know.
But see, they're asking for changes to take place, and because they went through this process once before, and for some reason they withdrew that application and didn't want to answer the questions that we had. And I think they're trying to go around the back door to say, okay, you can do this, but there's got to be some sort of provision for anything that they do there.
The name that I see on most of the material for the application is Hiram W. Peck III. And I think he's from probably some kind of consulting firm that's representing
representing the applicant.
Right.
Okay. Was the applicant Winthrop Baum? That's what I had. This is what I had from about several years ago. Is the applicant Winthrop Baum proposes a remodeling of existing office building, and that's the office building that they're interested in remodeling.
But that's not what this proposal is.
No, I know, but I don't know who this is the applicant here. Who made the proposal? She said some consultant.
For an applicant, but this concerns trade or vocational school.
That's correct.
So
It's a zoning issue. It's really not a harbor issue. So.
The trade or vocational school, it's not a matter that we could see would affect the harbor in this zone. So
it's a vocational school that involves automotive material, which they proposed before, then wouldn't that be of concern to us?
In terms of discharges,
whatever they do. That's as I looked at that. Because they proposed several venues in there of technical school. They talked about welding, plumbing, electrical, cosmology. That was my.
Yeah, but John, it sounds like that it wasn't specifically allowed in that zone, and they're just curing that. That's my take on it.
Well, that's correct. I mean, I certainly have no problem with doing that, but as long as at least the Harbor Commission, if they do have plans to do any kind of automotive work there.
The site development plans.
Automotive work that they talked about earlier, welding, plumbing, etc. If there's any concern about effluent coming from that building, I think we would want to be concerned about that.
Then we would review that.
And we review the plan.
Reviewing the development plan.
Right.
It'd be good to know what their actual intent is if somebody is pursuing this as a change. This isn't just being done because everybody likes trade schools, because trade schools are an oppressed class. I mean, somebody has an intent. Be good to know what that intent is.
I don't,
We don't have a definitive answer, but I think you'd assume it's to enable a development project.
Right.
All right. Well, what's the flavor of the commission? Nothing.
I want to know who it is. That's one.
All right. Well, Michelle.
Ultimately, Chris, it's the applicant. Ultimately, but
who's the applicant? What's their intent?
The intent was what was reviewed in 2018. That was the intent, and it seems to me that because that was an office building prior to,
right,
and that's what it was approved for. So in that zone, they may not allow vocational schools, and it appears to me that they're looking to cure that So zoning went to Fran's group, and Fran is just arbitrarily reaching out to us if we have any comments. So it's not something that was official for us to comment on other than from Fran. So
is it official or not official?
No, because all we did is received a copy of a letter that was sent to Fran DeMeglio.
So what's our business?
I'd like to weigh in. I think Chris's point is very valid in that if you have somebody that wants to start a program like this, they should have some degree of expertise in it. Otherwise, they're just going to muddle through, and we could end up with a problem, as he pointed out, handling waste and so forth from a facility like that. This isn't something, if you're not in the business of doing it, it's not something that you would easily do.
I mean, I think we're making more out of it than it is, because all of those different trades are going to need to be sanctioned by the state of Connecticut and or some other governing body to give accreditation, because people, when they come out of these schools, go into the workforce. And the state, on some of them, not all of them, but some of them have licensing requirements. And the state has to sanction any of the education that they go through. And that's one part of it. The other part is that if they're doing, let's use automotive, because that's something we're all most familiar with. They have to do what's required by zoning if they have any kind of automotive, whether it's a school or an operation or whatever, to deal with any of the wastewater that's there. You know, I don't hear them talking about having a dry cleaning school, because that may even have different requirements.
Well, that was included in that previous application that was submitted by this former applicant. And I just thought it very curious that they withdrew that, and we didn't hear anything more about it. And all of a sudden, we're now hearing that this is going to be all-inclusive at 25 Van Zandt Street to allow all these various vocational operations to go on. Like I said, what they did not, let's see. They have...
But they have to change it for all the industrial 1 zones.
Right.
They can't just do spot zoning to allow it at Van Zandt Street. So in answer to Chris's question, it is of significance to the Harbor Commission, because it's a proposed change to a city plan or regulation within the coastal area. So it required referral to the Harbor Management Commission. So we should point that out.
Well, that's exactly it.
I don't know that we can assume that a vocational or trade school is going to be done in an inappropriate way. But the actual, I think, amending the zone is not something that we would automatically object to. It would be how it's done. So if we reserve the right to review the development plan,
right,
and to make sure that it doesn't create any discharge
or adverse impact
or adverse impacts.
Right, and I think each and every application for whatever they're doing in the building would have to also revert back to us, because they have to go. They have to go for permits for these. They're going to need sign-offs.
All right. Well, then I could easily make note of that. I'll send a letter to Fran indicating what what we had just discussed, and allow her to.
I think Joshua should also make clear that it's an example of a project that should have been referred to the Harbor Commission directly by the Zoning Commission. You know what I mean? Not indirectly from the Planning Commission as part of coastal site plan review. But
yeah, but Jeff, we don't know if there's a set of plans attached to it at all. I think that right now they're still in the conceptual.
No, there aren't any plans, John. But the proposal is to change a city plan, which could be the plan of conservation and development, which this isn't, or a city regulation, which this is. So that triggers the harbor management review, not just a development plan.
Right.
Change to the zoning regulations.
So is this a CAM application? Is it attached to a CAM application? Because that's what the reference is.
It's not, though.
The CAM
we weren't directly contacted.
Well, I'm not saying we have it. I'm saying that the reference references a CAM application.
But the proposed change to the zoning is a CAM application in itself, not the
Oh,
developer.
okay. That I didn't know. So
And that's why it's referred to DEP, is the DEP person is on the list of receiving copies.
John, are we supposed to approve this tonight? Is there a time lane?
Well, they September 2nd is their meeting.
But Fran didn't formally ask you for anything. She just copied you on what she was asked to do. So in essence, what that tells me is that she's just looking for input and suggestion for her to make her decision at that hearing.
I believe so.
That's
all I've read. This letter, I think Michelle, I think sent the letter to us.
But I wouldn't diminish the commission's own.
No, that's correct. I would not diminish our at least our requirement for an input. All right, I mean, I could certainly address the points that we discussed, and as Jeff discussed in a separate letter to Fran.
Right, and just reinforce the fact that we always want to bite at the apple when it.
That was my ultimate intent. Yes.
Okay. Cool. I think we'll go on to the next subject.
Is that the sense of the commission?
You know, is that would be the sense of the commission?
All in favor of that train of thought and direction?
All right.
Any objections? Any issues, abstentions? Seeing none, John, that's the direction to take.
Yeah, right. We'll do that. Okay. Okay, the next application is a 26 Shorefront Park, and we had heard comment previously. We've also heard comment during the Shellfish Commission, and I was wondering if there's anything new, Mr. Bajek, that you wanted to discuss, bring up.
John, I don't think there's anything new. You know, I think we need to, you know, remind ourselves on a few important items. You know, decisions should be based, you know, on science. There's other factors clearly, but science should be driving a project such as this. And that's why we had Peter do the benthic study, because we had no idea when we launched into this project what the resources in the benthic community are like at the Vinod dock and what the impacts might be. So, you know, the study was done. There was virtually no shellfish resources found in the proposed dredge area. I think there was one clam, but that was it out of so many samples.
Yeah, we're rehashing stuff that we've heard 2 and 3
times. Yeah, I know,
already.
But okay.
But so, I mean, the whole basic is based on, and we have our charge is to look at others as well. That's your assertions. Aquaculture has come up with a different opinion, and they disagree with your experts' findings. The shellfish community in itself is also weighed in. So that's what I think we have to look at, and plus our own findings.
Well, I question all these agencies that have, and individuals that have made their comments. Have they done any study in this dredge area to come up with different science than what we have?
Their science goes back 50 plus years in almost every case. And they're the local knowledge, and they know what they do. They take a lot of these areas, they dredge them, they replant from these areas. They know it's a feeder, and that's their opinions. So,
well, we have our own expert opinion, and he's been closely associated with Norwalk Harbor for decades as well.
Now that's we're weighing all of that, but it's in conflict also with aquaculture. So,
well, I do want to make a final comment then, and that is, you know, dredging is a very expensive undertaking, and we seriously doubt that if this dock were allowed to be dredged, that the Vinots would apply to redredge it every 5 years or so, as some had voiced concerns about. Even the South Norwalk Boat Club itself seems to be on about a 10 or a 12-year dredge cycle. So I don't think we're talking about, you know, dredging happening every 5 or so years. The impacts will be short-lived. The benthic community will come back and it will thrive again.
All that is into the record.
Okay.
John, do you want to proceed?
Well,
Well, I don't know. John Casey may have something to say. I don't know.
If I just may quickly, Mr. Chairman, just on the point regarding Peter's study and aquaculture, and I know you're not here to arbitrate Mr. Carey's decisions over the years, but we found that in a number of matters across the state where Peter has done a study, it's been relied on by DEP and aquaculture to determine that dredging wouldn't have a permanent significant impact. And that, I mean, I won't say identical, but, you know, very similar findings with recolonization of dredged areas have been used to justify dredging throughout the state. So we find it a little, you know, disconcerting that David Carey would, in this case, you know, totally disregard Peter's study when it's been used, when similar findings have been used to justify and to approve dredging in other parts of the state.
Well, we have a very full agenda, and
I understand. And the only thing I would ask is that if I'm reading the tea leaves correctly, that in whatever letter, whatever you provide to DEP, I would just ask for our benefit and for their benefit that you specify the sections of the harbor management plan that you feel, if you find that it's inconsistent with your harbor management plan, that you specify those sections. I think it'll be easier for DEP staff to analyze and consider your opinion if you have specific sections that you refer to rather than just making general comments.
Yeah, Mr. Casey, no, we typically do that in all of our letters as well. So we'll certainly carry through on that. You know, Mr. Bardish, do you have any considerations, concerns, discussion?
Nothing further than our submission, in which we said, excuse me, that the Shellfish Commission's formal role of advising the Norwalk Harbor Management Commission on matters related to shellfish management as elucidated in the Norwalk Harbor Management Plan. We strongly urge the Harbor Management Commission to find this application inconsistent with the Norwalk Harbor Management Plan and communicate same to DEP.
Okay. I know. Thank you, Steve. Mr. Stedman, Jeff would like to make a few comments. All right, hold on. I think I have that. Yeah.
Not all the commission members were present members were on the commission when 10 or 11 years ago or so, we developed the shellfish resource protection policies that are now in the harbor management plan. And we did those in consultation with DEEP and the Bureau of Aquaculture and the Shellfish Commission. And we started off in those policies, and I think it was actually at the recommendation of then Commissioner Gina McCarthy to emphasize the importance of Norwalk's shellfish resources relative to the shellfish resources throughout the entire state. And also with reference to the natural shellfish beds that were designated by the Superior Court. And the emphasis is on protecting those shellfish resources, which, as we talked about at every meeting to discuss this, are more than just the populations of the shellfish, but the habitat that is necessary for the shellfish to thrive and survive. But from my opinion, for what it's worth, this proposal is more significant than just a proposal to review the impacts of a project on shellfish resources. It's my opinion, in discussing it with others, that it actually includes challenges to the state's existing coastal regulatory program, with arguments that dredging for residential property owners should be considered the same way as dredging for example, the nearby South Norwalk Boat Club. Now, the Harbor Management Plan supports maintenance dredging for boating facilities, but we refer to boating facilities and consider them to be the water dependent facilities identified in the Coastal Management Act. So the DEP, as the administrator of the Connecticut Coastal Management Act, has never considered residential properties to be water dependent uses. And they treated those properties and water access structures from them different than water dependent uses, which are identified in the Coastal Management Act. And the Coastal Management Act calls for giving high priority and preference to those water dependent uses. Other arguments that are made in this case also would set a precedent that could apply to elsewhere in Norwalk and everywhere else, including that the littoral right of the property owner includes the right of 24-hour access to navigable water. The Harbor Management Plan supports, recognizes and protects littoral rights, but they're not considered to be absolute rights or unqualified rights. They're rights of reasonable access to navigable water subject to legally imposed restrictions to protect public interests. So I would argue that the proposal as presented is inconsistent with the Harbor Management Plan, and specifically the policies that call for the protection of shellfish resources, which of course we can enumerate in the letter, but also to reinforce our understanding and application of littoral rights. We certainly support them and want to protect them, but they're rights of reasonable access, not unqualified and absolute rights that are to be determined by the person who wants to exercise those rights. We also, I don't believe, should support the argument that dredging by a residential property owner should be considered with the same weight as dredging by a Coastal Management Act defined water dependent use, such as a marina or a boat club, and that the littoral rights include the right of 24-hour access and the right of dredging to achieve that access. And the other point was made, argument was made early on that we only can look at what's before us, which is this particular proposal. But that's not, the Harbor Management Plan specifically in a number of places talks about the need to be concerned with cumulative impacts and avoid cumulative impacts. And so if the arguments that are being used to support this project are accepted, it creates the problem of cumulative impacts of dredging through the natural shellfish beds, not only in Norwalk, but throughout coastal Connecticut. So our responsibility now is to say whether it's consistent or not with in our interpretation of the Harbor Management Plan, and let the applicant move ahead with the permit application to be reviewed in the regulatory process. And of course, we would reserve our right to continue to comment on this and provide additional comments as the process continues. But we have statements from the major shellfish businesses in Norwalk expressing concerns about impacting the natural shellfish bed with new dredging, and that's another, I think, argument that we would want to not agree with in terms of considering proposals for new dredging the same way as proposals are considered for maintenance dredging. But that's my long-winded long-winded comments on this.
Well, I would like to say that just looking at the application, looking at the footprint of their proposed dredging, which is most of it is in the side slope of South Norwalk Boat Club's dredging, that the amount of material that they're actually taking out of the mud flat, meaning the zone that's around it, mean low water, is pretty de minimis, and that's just looking. I don't know about precedents that Jeff's talking about. I don't know whether this would be a precedent-setting event we're in effect enlarging the South Norwalk Boat Club's basin by a small amount into a private property. We're not cutting a trench into, through the entire mud flat to reach a property. I don't see. I see this is very insignificant amount of mud being taken out here in an area that's immediately adjacent to a heavily impacted area. you know, and that's just me looking at this on the face of it with the plans that are in front of me.
Well, where are we here? Are we off mute? No, we're still on mute. All right. Well, having those comments, we can certainly make a motion based on what we've heard so far. And if I can make a proposal based on comments that we've heard from the Bureau of Aquaculture, from the Norfolk Shellfish Commission, and if I could just make a statement, is that the Bureau of Aquaculture certainly is the leading agency in the state of Connecticut responsible for managing shellfish resources, and does so in coordination with local shellfish commissions and other state agencies. And as determined by the Norfolk Shellfish Commission and the Bureau of Aquaculture, the proposed work will have a significant impact on shellfish resources and shellfish habitat. And accordingly, the Bureau of Aquaculture has determined that a loss of acreage within the natural shellfish bed for a commercial harvest of oyster seed when set occurs locally will significantly damage the shellfish industry, as we've also heard from our local shellfish workers. So with that in mind, we might have to go with that. We find that the Norfolk Harbor Management Commission finds the current proposal, or the proposal in its current form, inconsistent with the Norfolk Harbor Management Plan.
With reasons that
for reasons that we had discussed previously.
Provide the comments that we talked
right.
about.
Somebody want to make that motion? John made the motion. Somebody want to second it? Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Who's that?
This is John.
John Crespo.
And Crespo?
Yep.
So you want to have some more conversation on the motion?
Any comment on that motion? And we'd like to add, delete. Any further discussion?
I'd just like to say that I agree with everything that Jeff said. It has nothing to do with so much as the quantity of material that will be removed, as much as it is a precedent. And we have to look out for the resources in our area.
So what precedent are we trying to set? Are we saying that we were not going to support dredging for private residences? We're only going to support dredging for marine facilities in the harbor management plan?
Yes, then many more residents can go ahead and dredge their property.
But is this the position that the commission wants to take, that we're opposed to residential dredging?
Don't take that position.
Because that seems to be the only reason to state this, is that we don't want residential dredging.
I don't think
well,
that's.
I think one reason, Chris, is that the state authority on shellfish resources.
We're asking, but they're asking us. We've heard what the state says. That's right. We've heard what the shellfish. Other people have had their say. But what is our statement? What is our position?
That's what we're here to figure out.
That's what we've suggested it be. That we find it inconsistent with the harbor management plan for the reasons that we talked about.
Yeah.
The harbor management plan does encourage and support dredging for boating facilities, but it envisions the water dependent facilities is identified in the Coastal Management Act. That's
so our interpretation is that residential dredging is not consistent with the harbor management plan?
I don't think that's what we're saying.
What are we saying?
What I'm saying is what I believe what we're saying is that we're looking at the authority of for example, the Bureau of Aquaculture.
No, we're talking about us. I'm talking about us, not the Bureau of Aquaculture.
That's correct. We follow our harbor management plan requires us to look at shellfish resources, to protect shellfish resources. Now, as far as our scientific expertise is what we have to rely on, and our scientific expertise is the Bureau of Aquaculture and the Shellfish Commission itself. who, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not a shell fisherman, and I have to abide by the expertise of other locals who are in the industry or in the business to say what is good, what is bad, what is indifferent.
I think what the interpretation might be, or the finding might be, is that new dredging through a natural shellfish bed that has not been dredged before to provide 24-hour access at a residential water access structure is not consistent with the harbor management plan.
So we're saying that this area is a natural shellfish bed, and it's been documented, or is that just an opinion?
No,
it's documented and established by the Superior Court and recognized by the Bureau of Aquaculture and the Shellfish Commission and by DEEP.
So where's that? But this at this location, or just Norwalk Harbor? I want to.
A portion of Norwalk Harbor, including this area.
I hate to interrupt, Mr. Chairman, but I just want to say on that point, we've searched for that map that references the location of natural shellfish beds in Norwalk, and no one has been able to provide us with a copy. We've asked the Department of Health, we've asked.
Curious, he's not been able to find a copy of that.
So I guess we're going on faith that this is a natural shellfish bed, but to this date, I don't have anything in front of me that shows that this area is actually a natural shellfish bed. I thought that would be something that would be relatively easy to come across, but
well, we have the court approved boundaries of the natural shellfish bed,
but Jeff, no one's been able to. I know it says that in the town ordinance, and it references something from 1882. But when I ask for a copy of the map, I can't get one. The Department of Health, which is the staff that supports this commission, doesn't have a copy. The town clerk doesn't have a copy. The Bureau of Aquaculture doesn't have a copy. So I don't know where the natural shellfish beds are. As I said, we're sort of relying on faith. We haven't made a big deal of it to this point. I don't know that if we did, it would make a difference. But I'm telling you, because Mr. McDonald raised the question, there's nothing at this point that I've seen that shows that this isn't a natural shellfish bed.
Well, we have a motion on the floor. We can come to a vote, either yay or nay, and figure out what we need to do from there. We either find it consistent or we don't find it consistent with the Norwalk Harbor Management Plan.
I disagree, John. I don't think the commission under any circumstances would find it consistent with the plan, because that's not our policy.
Policy, that's right.
In pre-application review. The policy in pre-application and review is either to say we have no objection to the project moving forward to the regulatory process.
But right now we're finding
it
inconsistent with the Norwalk Harbor Management Plan.
All right. So the motion is that it is inconsistent.
The motion would be that right now that it's inconsistent with the Norwalk Harbor Management Plan.
Okay.
Which does not preclude the applicant from proceeding.
All right. Well, then motion to end discussion if we're done discussing this.
That's it. But that's it. Does not, that was pointed out, that does not preclude the applicant from moving forward with the application.
Right.
Well, all those in favor. Yeah, I'm sorry, John.
No, go ahead, John.
No, I was going to say all those in favor of the proposal as is, that is inconsistent with the plan, either raise your hand, either yay or nay. All right. To find it inconsistent with the plan. 1, 2.
Wait. Are we voting that it's consistent or inconsistent?
No, the motion was that the motion was that it was inconsistent currently with the Norwalk Harbor Management Plan for reasons that we had discussed.
Right.
With regard to the argument of the Bureau of Aquaculture, argument with the Norwalk Shellfish Commission, and dealing with reasonable access to water, littoral rights.
I want to do this by a voice vote because we can't see everybody's hands here. At least I can't. Chris McDonald.
I vote against the motion.
John Pinto.
For the motion.
Alan Kivy.
Against the motion? No.
Dennis,
No.
John Crespo,
Yes.
Jeff
Yeah.
Mangles,
No.
Ms. Jones?
Against.
We have everyone?
and I'm for the motion. So
How
it
about
seems-
Joe?
Say again?
I'm sorry, did we hear from Joe?
Joe is not on this commission.
Oh, correct, my bad.
Okay, so it seems like the motion has failed.
Okay. Anyone would like to make a subsequent motion based on the findings of the first?
So the other option, and it's Jeff, that we have no objection and reserve the right to
Yes,
view the final application.
that's correct.
I make a motion that is our.
That we have no objection to the proposal to move forward with the applicant to move forward with the application, and that we reserve our right to review the application in its final form when it comes to.
I make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, we'll do the voice vote again. Let's see. So we have Chris and Dennis,
Yeah.
and you're for the motion as well, right?
I'm for the motion I made, yes.
No, you are, but Chris as well. Alan,
Yes.
John Crespo,
Yeah.
you're for the motion?
Yeah. Can you restate that again? I'm just a little confused.
That they're moving the project forward without any objection.
No, I'll say no.
Okay. Pinto,
No.
myself is a no. Alan, you said yes.
Yes.
Dennis said yes. I have you already. Jeff Mangles,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
let's see who else we have. No, that's it. I guess we have, that's the 9. Yep. So the motion carries. Chris's motion carries.
Okay. All right, so we will put that in the letter and send that to the DEP. That we have no objection to the applicant moving forward and that we reserve our right, but we do have some comments. We will comment on that based on the discussion that we've had. Okay. All right, everyone, we can move on.
Yes.
Okay. All right, the next application is
Good night, everyone.
the next application is again, it's a pre-submission, pre-application for 8084 Seaview Avenue. And let me see if I can raise this up here a little bit more. And that involves the applicant proposes to retain a 121, oh, wait a minute, let me widen this a little bit more here so I can see this whole thing. Okay, the applicant proposes to retain 121 foot of concrete block wall and associated 110 foot of a riprap along the shoreline at 84 Seaview Avenue, add 2 finger floats to the northern end of the dock and restore the use of the existing dock back to a commercial marina and create public access onto the northern portion of the elevated deck at 84 Seaview Avenue. The proposal includes conversion of an existing shed on the public access deck in the northwest corner of 80 Seaview Avenue and to a marina office. And again, aside from the 2 finger floats proposed on the existing dock, no physical changes are proposed to the structures.
This is Overton's in Harborview?
This is Overton's, that's correct, yes. They had made reparations, I guess, for their paving exercise that they had. They got their COP, and now this is a pre-application of what they plan to do. Basically, it was to add, let me see if I can pull it up here.
John, I have it open. Do you want me to do it?
Oh, you got that, Chris? Yeah, I have it here. Let me see if I could, let me get this here. Okay, everyone see that? Share the screen. Yeah, so what they plan to do is to put in these two finger piers here, this location here, and reinstate this dock facility that they have here, along with the reconstruction of their wall around the perimeter, and then reconstruct this area right here where they plan to put a one-story, reconvert this one-story building that they have there to a marina office.
Does that impede anyway the use of at the East Norwalk Boat and Yacht Club?
I don't know, Jeff, would you want to comment on that?
Sure, I could comment on that. It wouldn't impede it if it does not, if that dock does not extend further north. It should be okay. I would be more concerned that those docks would go into there's the channel over there. No? Yeah.
They don't indicate here, wait a minute. They don't indicate where the Federal Navigation Channel is in relation to.
They need to show that.
They need to show, yeah, they need to show the Federal Navigation Channel in relation to the current dock. They do not show that.
Yeah, I would reject this immediately if they don't have that on there.
All right, well, that would be our comment then. I mean,
well, my other comment is so the First Street, the city right of way is the southern abutter there.
This area right here.
Yeah, and that float extends into the littoral rights of the city of Norwalk.
That's correct.
So why do they do that? How can they do that?
Well, that would be a comment. That's correct. All right. So, I mean, this area right here. Yeah. Yeah. First Street area, right? As far as the street end, right?
Yeah. By rights, and I'm sure they have no permission to do that. And I don't know if that
would. Sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
No, and I don't know if they talked about adding a couple fingers. Are the new fingers exclusively at the north end, or is that
no, the north end? Right here, Chris. This here. Apparently, this is existing.
Huh.
This is existing here. So this.
I know. Yeah, I didn't know whether the finger was existing. I know that.
Well, that's as they point out in the application that this here is all an existing area. The only thing that they're adding are these two finger piers right here. This apparently was previously. I mean,
and the only other concern is that if larger vessels tie up to that, it will impede the channel for sure.
That's where I was going with that question, yeah, Jack.
Without a doubt, it will. I mean, it sort of does now. The way that they have that configured now is that those fingers are not there, and the vessel will tie up parallel with that
right.
dock. And that there is no impeding of the channel in any way that way.
Jeff, we can make comment because they do not show where the Federal Navigation Channel is. Huh?
You could say that we don't have enough information.
We don't have enough information.
You don't have enough information in that.
And then the statement with regard to their encroachment at that street end, as far as the current dock.
They need to explain that.
Yeah.
The authorization that they have for the dock that encroaches into this extended
city right of way.
And the other thing is they describe the application as involving retaining the block wall and riprap, which implies that block wall and riprap are not permitted now. So have they completed the?
I think we asked him that question before. That was, and supposedly they got that application. They got a.
Well, they're saying the application involves retaining a 121-foot concrete block wall and associated riprap.
Right.
So that means they're asking for approval
For that.
They don't have it yet. So was this the subject of an enforcement or enforcement action?
That was, I don't know whether that was included in the previous enforcement action.
And when did that take place? Because the plan doesn't encourage after the fact permits. Of violations that occurred after the effective date of the harbor management plan.
Right.
Unless there are compelling reasons.
Right.
So I think we need to ask those questions and say that it's not, that there's not enough information to act on this.
Okay. Now. Fair enough.
No, that's just my thought.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, they did go through a whole series of exercises with regard to Sue Jacobson, with regard to their previous encroachment and enforcement that they had. Apparently, according to her, I got that COP. They gave her. Well, that would be for something different. Something different. That was for their paving.
Yeah.
That was for their paving exercise for the whole thing, right? And then they had to raise an elevation on that. So they got approval for that from the DEP.
So we need to know this.
John?
Enforcement.
Yes.
John, could you bring up section AA, which goes through that block wall?
Section AA.
You got it there. That's it there.
Okay.
So the block wall is.
This is the rebuilt concrete wall here to remain.
That's existing?
Existing riprap.
And the wall is existing?
To remain, and this was existing.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the deck.
That's in place now.
Right. All right, we will address those issues then with them regarding the extension into city right away here, the distance from the channel, and that was about the existing wall.
And the status of any violations, when they occurred, and
right.
Is this the subject of an enforcement action?
That I don't know about.
Right, that's what we have to find out.
At one time, they were going to replace that seawall on the north side as well.
On the side of the side of East Monk Boat Club, yes.
Correct. Is that part of this, or is this?
They didn't. No, that was not discussed.
Yeah, because they're proposed a 4-foot wide public access.
That was in here, right here.
That's right there. Yeah, so that's proposed. So to get that, they would have to do some
to reinforce
on that. Yeah.
Sorry, reinforce the under foundation.
Yeah, if anybody ever wants to see that, just let me know, and I can show you that firsthand.
All right. Well, as I said, we can. I'll propose those questions to them.
What are we saying about the southern end of the float and the right of way?
This here?
Yeah.
The question, as far as I don't know whether they permit, how far their permit actually goes in here, whether this float is permitted or not. DEP has never said anything about that.
And do they have authorization from the city of Norwalk to encroach?
Yeah.
Do you ask them, or do you tell them this would not be approved unless you remove accuse them, don't ask them if, what I'm saying?
Like I said, did the city of Norwalk give them permission to encroach in that area? I don't think they did.
Well, I would assume that they don't have permission and tell them they have to remove it and let them come up with something. I think we start out with, these folks do not seem to have followed any of the rules and anything that they've done.
Well, that's been somewhat consistent.
So I think the operating assumption has to be that they do not have permission, and that any work on that dock will only be authorized if they remove the part that extends into the city's littoral rights. And that I looked on the aerial, there's a pile at the south end too. So that involves a pile being pulled and removed, not just
down in here.
No, the pile, the southernmost pile for the dock is within the, I'm pointing at it like you can see my screen. Yeah, on the dock itself, there's a pile for the dock that's within the right of way, which is within the littoral rights of the city.
Oh,
there, yeah.
Yeah, right in here.
Yeah.
All right.
I want to just make another quick comment that if there is a vessel that is tied up to the northernmost, we see the two vessels in the slip, but if there's a vessel that's tied up onto the north side of that,
the outside,
then that will absolutely impact East Norfolk Boating and Yacht.
All right. Well, as I said, we can I'll raise these comments, you know, in a subsequent letter, you know, and also this, as I said, this is apparently new as well, as far as the location of this vessel on the outside of this float here. Why they incorporated this, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that is actually existing or not. I just can't remember,
in the aerial
past it.
Sorry, and then the aerial, that float is there. There's no vessel tied up to the
right. That's
at that moment, but that L is there.
That's correct.
Overton had a rowboat canoe rental back in the day, and I think that's what they're hanging their hat on.
All right. Well, we'll question the existence of this L shape, you know, the float that extends into the littoral rights of the city's right of way here. Question again the distance from navigation, channel navigation, and then after the fact, perhaps where it stands with regard to this wall here that they had talked about, and again the reinforcement of the north end. Is that what you're saying, Jeff?
That is correct. Reinforcement of that seawall that is existing there, and it's crumbling, if you will.
Okay. So I will put those points in a subsequent letter to the applicant.
Yeah, and by no means can anybody tie up to the north side of that.
And then, right, and no vessel being tied to this end of the dock.
There's absolutely no way.
Right. Any other comment?
I want to also say that this dock doesn't look, the dock itself doesn't look to scale for some reason. I want to say that main dock extends further north, but
oh, this one here.
Yeah, because if that is, are they expanding that existing deck? I don't think so, right? So where it says public access.
Public access.
So that is almost to the edge, if I remember right, of that northernmost side of that deck. That slit, that dock.
Where this exists close to these adjacent.
Yeah, it's closer. It's pretty much in line. So if I remember right.
Well, this was done by Land Deck. You know, well, they're usually pretty good on their design, but. Do
you want me to throw up that aerial because it's.
You have an aerial view of that, Chris? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I have Google Earth from 2019.
Okay.
I could be talking rubbish, but
yeah. The drawing has to be stamped by a professional engineer, John.
Well, it is. I mean, well, they're a professional engineering company, but it's not stamped.
The heck is it?
And that's not, no.
Yeah, there it is.
All right, then I stand corrected on that, on my comment.
Yeah.
Unless it's extended, but I stand corrected on that.
That's kind of what they show.
Yeah, what happens now is that a larger vessel would tie up to that.
And yeah.
Gosh, it looks like it should. What year was this?
2019.
Well, I don't think they moved the dock at all.
No, I don't think so either. No.
This is all still in place here.
Yeah.
Right. Right, and at the south end they have, so that's
what they're encroaching on.
Yeah, that's the question there, how'd they do that?
right, and there's the pile I was trying to allude to.
Right. All right, well, as I said, all those comments will be noted and applied to a letter to the applicant.
Okay.
If anyone has any further comments.
They used to have more there, huh? No, there's a vessel there.
Oh, is this another view?
This is just, yeah, another date. You can scroll through.
Oh, I see what you got. Yes.
So they used to have a second finger down there.
Huh. Oh, that was previous years.
I'm sorry, I screwed up the view.
Huh.
And that's a good indication of what could happen if they tie up to the north side of that. You could see that vessel that's tied up to the East Norfolk Boating Yacht Club there.
Yeah.
So there is no way.
There would be no room for a vessel there. No.
All right. Well, I think we've made some progress on that application.
Is there a channel here, or is this just technically the North Basin?
No, the East Basin.
East Basin.
Yeah, and we have a federal navigation channel that it's Anchorage. I'm sorry, it's a federal navigation. It's an Anchorage.
It's a north. It's a north. I think the north. They call it the North Anchorage in the management plan.
Anchorage in the channel. Channel goes along up to Vantage.
Yeah, we truncated it here from over here, right?
Well, it goes up to Vantage Point.
We don't see that here. Right up. That's right in here. Yeah. With Vantage Point. Yeah. Well, that's right. That's right. They're not a channel, but an anchorage. That's correct.
We changed it.
That's right. Okay. Any other comment? All right. All right. So all those points will be well noted. Any other further comments? And we'll move on to the next application. Let me get out of this. And the last application is, and I think Mr. Hiltz is here. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, this is for an application at 11 Tenetta Circle and Norwalk. It's a pre-application, and the applicant wishes to construct a 4-foot by 70-foot piling supported timber pier, piling supported boat elevator, a 3-foot by 40-foot aluminum ramp, and an 80-foot by 20-foot piling anchored timber floating dock for a private recreational boat. And let me have that. I have, let me see here. So this is the, let me share my screen. All right, well, this is the area right here. And at 11, this is 11 Tenetta Circle. They wish to extend the dock in this region here. Let me get that up.
You see the issue there, Jim?
I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
Yeah. They extend the dock here, along with the boat ramp, the dock rather here, and a boat ramp. Yeah, they're so close to the, yeah, I mean, it's close to, this is Littoral, the boundary here. All right. Mr. Hiltz.
Gentlemen.
Yes.
Ladies. Good evening. Thing remember here is that this site actually received previously a 440 dock approval. And that was issued to, I think, Dwight St. John, former owner. And I can't speak, to that, to his motives, but I think at the time, the house was going on the market, and where the ramp and float would have ended up is basically kind of in the, in the middle of the intertidal area, which wouldn't have really made for a very good boat, boat facility at all. Current owner, Mr. Coulard, he's basically trying to avoid having stuff sit on the bottom, particularly as you can see on the plan there, the area that, closer to the mean low water line where there's oysters on gravel.
In here.
Yeah, both, hard substrate, there's hard substrate pretty much throughout the intertidal area. As soon as you get beyond the mean low water line, it goes to silts, very soft stuff, probably, I don't know. I probably went up to my, mid shin, when out there plunking around doing my field work. So there's that aspect of it. And he's basically trying to push the dock out into an area that wouldn't be supporting oysters. So that's one of the objectives here. And obviously having the boat lift is, something that he's interested in having so that the boat can be stored at his property, but does not sit on the bottom when doing so.
I know they have very close to boundaries of the.
Understood. Can you call up the assessor's map, Dr. Pino?
Wait, just a minute. Let's see.
You could cheat. It's the second sheet of the plans.
It's a separate. It's on a separate sheet.
Separate
John.
sheet. Let me see here. Let me go to. Oh boy, that's why I hate like these in-person things here. I mean, this online stuff here.
Sorry about that.
No, I'm just trying to. Let me see if I could. Let me get. What are we dealing with here? We're dealing with 11. Let me see, 11th in a circle here, right here, and you want the assessor's
map. Kind of gives you a good overview of this, the area, the vicinity, and whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So if you scroll, you can see that the adjacent property, it's a similar kind of situation there. They're kind of invade. We could, obviously I could angle that ramp and floating dock if need be, to, move it away from the, the literal right lines there.
Right,
so,
yeah.
That's not a big issue. It's just, I wanted you guys to see that so you can kind of see what the context is there.
So it would be, John, about looking at the scale of the float. That corner might be 4 feet or so from the extended property line.
Hold on a second. Call that up. I think, don't know how to get to my drawing.
This one here, John? This one.
Yeah,
here.
there you go.
Yeah.
I would say 4 to 5 feet, Jeff. And we can shift that over. We can angle the ramp. That's we can center that if need be.
Well, the policy of the plan is pretty clear that unless there's reasons otherwise that are compelling, that should follow the Corps of Engineers guidelines of 25 feet away from the property line.
Right. It's kind of fun. The apparent little rights lines, that's from the surveyor's, notes. And what, I talked to Jeff McDougall about that, and you can see, for example, that one takes a sharp turn there. Right. And basically what they're doing is they're doing the perpendicular to the channel line, which is pretty far away, over there. So it's one of those situations where it's like, well, is that really the line? But I mean, nonetheless, we have some boundaries shown here. And again, at this point, we're more interested in just, if we need to revise that in order to, center it, and to make it equidistant from the
Boundaries here.
Boundaries, we can do that.
I don't know, what's the distance between here too? But, I see you got quite a big distance from the other neighboring docks. There's 200 feet over there and there's 85 feet over here.
But the neighbor to the south doesn't have a dock. Right
No,
now.
they don't have a dock right now. No,
No, no dock there.
Yeah. But then again, yeah, and he's got how many feet? That's 40. That's 43 feet plus he's got 25 feet.
Right.
So he's got 68 feet, from the center. And I don't know if they meet that 25-foot.
I think they should try to center the dock if it's physically possible.
If it's possible, yeah.
To
be
in compliance with the.
And then what the distance would be from the dock, if it's a 440, this is an 8 by 20-foot dock here, and center it. I don't know what the distance would be from the littoral boundaries here and here. But any comments from the commission?
I have one quick comment, if I may, John.
Yes, legit.
So this is 160 square foot float, Mr. Hiltz. Generally accepted is 100. Is there a technical reason for the size?
Yeah, we found, there's been other recent applications in that area. And what we found is simply that, the smaller floating dock, given any weather event, is pretty unstable. That's really, what we're trying to avoid is that, they become, for lack of a better term, bouncy in weather.
Well, as I said, moving forward with the application, with perhaps possibility of adjusting the position of the dock
To center
the float in the center of the owner's property here.
Extend within the owner's
littoral boundaries. Yeah. Right. Would anyone like to make a motion with regard to allowing the application to move forward, and with the idea that we will make comment with regard to the positioning of the dock to maintain equal distance from the littoral rights of the property of neighboring property owners?
I'll make that motion.
Second. Any other comments?
What is the water frontage and the presumed width of the littoral rights? Is it at the bottom there's a couple numbers, but there's a gap, and
whereabouts, Chris?
At the seawall.
Back down in here?
So there you go.
Right. So you have
So you have a 4-foot wide pier, 43 and 25. So that gets you 47, 52, 70, 72 feet.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So minus a 20-foot dock, you have 26 feet on each side. So you're.
Right, so you can obey 25 foot.
So you have that, at least according to Army Corps setback, you have 25 feet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So you'd have 26 feet on each side.
We can play with that and try to get that, to line up with the recommendation.
All right. Any other comment?
Does the lift have to be 25 feet too? We're going to bust his chops on that?
Because that'll obviously move over probably.
You can angle it, so you can angle.
He can angle it over.
I think what I would do in this instance is I would angle the ramp. So I would probably keep the pier in its current orientation, and then put an angle on the the end to achieve, to swing the ramp and the float to line it up, with the center.
You're talking this right here, John, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any comment, Jeff? Chris?
I'm good.
All right. All right. All those in favor of the motion that we made?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstention? Okay, great. Right. No, thank you, John. I'll get that letter out to you.
Thank you. And before I sign off, I just, Dr. Pino, I just want you to know, you might want to check your email. I sent you the Neil Overton permit that I did in 1997, 25 years ago. That shows what was authorized there in terms of you know, the deck and the floats. And it does have call outs, you know, regarding the federal channel line and whatnot.
Oh, you just sent that over to me now?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay.
So
all right. No, thank you, John.
that might be helpful for your reference. And
oh, great. Yeah, we'll certainly look at that. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
All right, John. Thank you,
John.
All right. Well, let me see if I get out of here now. Okay, the last application is really not on our purview, but I thought the commission should be made aware of it. It's an application for 61 Rowayton Avenue, which is in the 5 Mile River Commission Authority. And I did speak to Mr. Bartish about that. He's clearly aware of that. But I thought since it's a city agency that is carrying out the project, that at least the Norwalk Harbor Management Commission, let's be aware of what they plan to do. And I'll just read it. And basically, the applicant seeks to retain. The applicant here is the city of Norwalk, Parks and Recreation. And what they plan to do is to retain and maintain the existing, which predates the 1995 waterfront structures. Accordingly, there's no construction is associated with this project, as the applicant seeks to retain and maintain the following. And this is what they plan to maintain: is that a 100-foot linear foot of stone and masonry seawall with a 13 weep hole and a 12-inch diameter reinforced concrete pipe, 90 linear feet of concrete seawall, 85 square foot timber pier with 5 foundation piers and 3.5 width by a 24 foot width aluminum ramp, a 12 foot by 21 foot floating dock, and 2 anchor piles, 2 6 by 15 foot floating docks, each with 1 anchor pile, 4 tie-off piles and timber gallows, and 2 beach/boat access safety ladders, and 2 beach access staircases. So I guess they plan to just maintain status quo there. And Steve, is that my correct take on that? They just want to get permission to maintain those structures that they have at 61 Rowayton Avenue.
That's my understanding, John.
I say, okay. Well, that's what the city of Norwalk is planning to do, right? But as I said, we have no jurisdiction or purview over that, other than the 5 Mile River Commission to look at that. And you have a copy of that, Steve?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's it. That's the end of our report.
I'll just say that's a pretty good precedent for, you know, the type of facility not facility, but just, you know, waterfront access that is kind of lacking from the rest of the city.
Well, maybe if we get more of our street ends going, we could probably do that.
All right, let me, now it's time for the chairman's report. And I really don't have anything much to report, other than I was asked by the city to make room in our September meeting. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it to the commission, whether we do it at our September meeting or create a special meeting to meet with them, because it may be too time consuming in overall terms to what we look to accomplish. A couple of us went on a Zoom call several weeks ago with a proposal that the city was put forth by a consultant that they hired. And we have obviously the need to have input and to brainstorm and to sit down with these people and go over what we want to see happen and not happen, and, you know, make them aware of our harbor management plan and the like. So I'd like to open a discussion regarding having that brainstorming and inputting meeting during the course of our regular meeting. What are the thoughts on that?
This is dealing with the coastal management, the waterfront management
What it's John, I think you were on that call too, where they hired a consultant to do a revamping of the zoning rules and regulations along the coast.
Run the waterfront, waterfront industrial area.
Right.
John, I'm a little confused on specifically what we're talking about.
Okay, the city is in the process of, they hired a consultant, and the consultant gave an overview of what they were looking at. And where our concern is, as the Harbor Commission, is when we dug into it a little bit, they admitted that the only people that they've talked to are city agency and city employees to get input for direction to go with this study and to come back with this study, what they feel is appropriate for along the coastline. And I said, hold on a second. You know, you have the Harbor Commission, you have many stakeholders in this town, not just the Harbor Commission, but the Harbor Commission primarily has the need to weigh in on what's going on and give you the input so you don't go off on directions that are going to be contrary to what our plan is. So that's the crux of this meeting. And we all need, besides Jeff and John with plan review, but we all need to come up with thoughts and ideas of what would be contrary to our overall goal and our harbor management plan. So, I mean, if they totally remove a lot of the different businesses, and again, he brought up examples on projects that they did where they, you know, intensify different areas with housing, stores and the like, and then they keep the outlier areas more rural. So is that Norwalk? Should Norwalk be that, or should we be a combination of what we've been over all the years? You know, we have a lot of people that have been in this town many years. Is this study going to cater to the people that don't live here, that may be attracted to come live in our apartments? If that's the case, I personally have an objection to that.
So who's doing this? I mean, the city is it
somebody's Chris, somebody's driving this from behind the scenes somewhere, and the city has hired a consultancy group.
Well, the city through what department?
Planning and zoning.
Planning and zoning.
Okay.
It's somebody's grandiose plan.
Is this a master? Is this specific to the waterfront, or is it a city master plan?
Specific to the waterfront, Chris, I think.
Well, no, that's my question.
Yeah, Michelle, why don't you weigh in?
Yeah. So there was the industrial zone study that's been going on for the past year or so. There's been a moratorium on, change of uses and contractor yards and stuff like that. So that's kind of wrapping up, and that's it's just a land use study, whereas the industrial waterfront land use study is a specific area of industrial and commercial uses right on the coast. I have spoke to John and John Pinto in working out a time where we can get all the commissions that govern the body of waters and stuff like that, and then work that out at your September 22nd meeting, and then I could send out specific focus questions and kind of an overview, so there's more clarity of what we're looking for and whether or not you guys want to do this maybe at a special meeting like Chairman Romano said, or at your September 22nd meeting. But this is kind of an extension of what has been going on with the industrial zone study, but it's just focused on the waterfront of a specific area of the industrial zones.
Which is good. I mean, I would love to have us be involved with it sooner than later. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think somebody said that this study would be done by December. That was the goal.
I think it might go a little later than that, but I can see the time framing on that. It might go farther than that, because the moratorium was extended for another year. So I think it might go farther than December.
Yeah, but the big picture is that we want the flavor of our feelings brought to the fore so they can weigh that in the evaluation of whatever direction they'll go to. If that direction that they have assumed is the right direction based on other input other than Harbor Commission or Shellfish Commission or us as a body that have an affinity for the harbor and for our coastline, and plus a plan that we follow, well, we need to make that known to them up front so they don't go off on a tangent on a different direction, and they encompass whatever they do, taking into consideration what our thoughts and feelings are and what our harbor management plan says. Am I stating that correctly?
No, that's correct, John. Yeah, I do have some slides that they presented about the vision that they had for various areas in Norwalk, especially around the waterfront for mixed commercial use, zoning changes and the like, mixed use, commercial, industrial locations, et cetera. Plans of the types of buildings that they would recommend putting up in and around those areas.
Yeah, but none of that was etched in stone. It was more or less.
No. This was more of a
where it was done, what they did elsewhere.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Some
so
slides that they presented about
right.
the
The whole thought about us getting together with them, and so now it becomes a Norwalk centric project, not something that was done somewhere else.
Well, that point was brought up by several of the other residents that had attended that meeting, that they wanted to maintain the flavor of what Norwalk was all about, as far as its historic value, maritime community, that type of thing, and what people of Norwalk wanted. And there were about two people that chimed in that made that point quite evident, that they want the people of Norwalk to feel comfortable with what they design.
Anybody have any preference, whether it's at our regular meeting or do we call a special meeting?
Yeah.
Hey, John, this is Matt Gifford. Do you have any idea who would also be joining us, or would it just be commissioners, or would it be general population, or just what?
They had no, it wouldn't be. I don't think it's the general population, but they may be invited, because if it's at one of our regular meetings, they always are invited. But it's a consortium of people on that side that are going to be doing the study or working with the people that are doing the study. Do you have a more of a specific? It's not just a one consultant, correct? It's a group of people.
Yeah, it's going to be two consultants from the company's called Utile, or I think it's just an acronym, UTILE, and there'll be two consultants on the call, and the goal was to interview and have kind of a discussion with the Harbor Management Commission, the Shellfish Commission, and then the Mayor's Water Quality Commission, kind of gather you guys all into one meeting, and perhaps after your application review stuff, and then kind of add this on your agenda and then invite Shellfish and Water Quality to that meeting with everyone. And then I guess there would be not necessarily any outsiders, but I mean, like you said, it's, if there's people coming in for public comment, then they'll be there, but they're not necessarily invited to
if we did it outside of our monthly meeting, would it still be a public meeting?
Anytime I think more than a quorum is together, it is a public
meeting.
Yeah.
I think it'd be too cumbersome to have it concurrent with.
Well, it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to, if it's a special meeting, it doesn't have to be our meeting. We don't have to be in session. We could be invited to somebody else's meeting that isn't public.
Yeah, but they asked us to host this meeting. So that's why we're having this.
All right, then it's a public meeting.
That'd be a public meeting.
Yeah. I think it would be too cumbersome to hold concurrently the Harbor Commission application review and then this meeting along with the altogether. I think it would be just too disruptive, I think.
Do we look at whatever would be coming in for plan review and let everyone know that it's going to be held off until the following meeting, which is October, to address this? Because I'd rather see us be on the front side of this than on the back side of it. This is a
I don't think a special meeting would be in place of our monthly meeting. Special meeting would be.
No. I know that, Chris. You're stating the obvious.
Right. So I didn't know what you were saying. We were pushing stuff off the September meeting.
I would say that if we did have it at our regular meeting, that we can push it off plan review items off to our October meeting to allow the proper time to vet this all out. Because keep in mind, it's a water quality committee plus Shellfish commission. So it will be the three related items that have the most at stake. Any suggestions, thoughts, ideas?
I think it should be a separate meeting. I mean, there's just too many people involved, and with a combined meeting, you're just not going to have enough time to get the subject matter out and discussed. My personal opinion.
Can they also forward us that information that you had talked about, John, or was that Michelle, just so we can have an update on kind of what their scope of work was as requested, what their data is to date, and things like that, so we're not kind of coming in blind.
Right. So that's an excellent idea, Matt, because they did video it, and I think probably if you sent the video out, and if people want to take the time to listen to it, it kind of vets a lot of questions that the regular public had.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think 20 minutes of their video would be completely over the top in terms of understanding what their background is, what their focus is, and where the points are that we really need to pitch in to help them.
Okay, so it brings us down to regular meeting or special meeting, and and in my opinion, it could, the only way it could be a regular meeting is if we took anything that would be scheduled on plan review and put it off until October. Is that appropriate to do, John? Is that doable?
Some of our, I don't know if you want to do that, John. I mean, some of the applications that we have are sometimes sensitive with regard to time.
That's very true.
And I would have no problem with having a designated time for that specific meeting where that's what we're going to concentrate our effort on. And the issue, Matt, going back to what your statement is that it's not what they want. It's just that what we want. That information came loud and clear, and they even made that point themselves that it's what the people of Norwalk want. It's not that what vision they have.
Oh, 100%, John. And I just kind of want to understand what their real original scope was and kind of what they're doing to accomplish that, so that we can, help them and guide them in the direction that the city really wants to be in, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years.
Well, right.
I second that wholeheartedly. I think we should at least have the RFP for their contract, if not their actual proposal as well, that they got to earn to get the job. Presumably there was an RFP process for this. Michelle,
right, and they have the job.
I understood, but what Matt's asking for the scope? The scope is in the RFP.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming there was an RFP process for hiring a consultant by the city.
Yes.
I can share that information as much as I can for the information of their scope and everything.
All right, so make sure we at least settled that out, that you're going to send us a copy of the RFP, and you're also going to send out the video of the Zoom call that took place already. Now, let me raise another question, and I understand the time sensitivity of our applications at times. Could everyone make a meeting at 5 o'clock opposed to 6 o'clock? And we made a point of bringing the application review to the end of the meeting.
My preference would be for a separate meeting on a separate day, not a 3 or 4 hour meeting on September 20, whatever.
Anyone else?
You seem to be pushing hard against having a separate date, John.
Chris, I'm not pushing anything.
Well, okay.
You're the only one that's been very pushy this meeting. I'm just actually giving the options to people, because I could have just said we committed to this meeting, period. I'm giving people the options. And one of the options is having a special meeting. And
John, I also feel that a separate meeting where we can really focus on this would be great.
I mean, yeah, big picture is it's of that much importance to give it the right amount of time that it's due.
Yes.
And I think we have enough time to schedule that out. Could you, Michelle, without creating any conflicts, find out what the schedule is, and hopefully if you can do it, let's say on a Monday or a Tuesday, we'll have had time to vet it out, even in that same week if possible, and then we can have our regular meeting on a Wednesday.
Okay, I'll reach out.
Does that make sense? Is that the will of the commission?
Let's have a show of hands for separate meeting.
Okay, so it seems pretty unanimous.
So I could send out, I'll check with Steve for a date, and then what I'll do is make a calendar invite request for that day with all 3 commission and committees, and then we'll do the Zoom invite all together in a separate meeting.
Right, even if it's the week before, I still think there's plenty of time.
The week before, okay, and then I'll get additional information about the scope, and I'll send that out with the invite.
All right, perfect. Okay, so we handled that. Scully, I see you're on the line. Greg?
Yes, sir.
You're at bat.
Okay, nothing really new to report. Luckily, we survived this hurricane / tropical storm with no major damage or anything, so we really lucked out on that one. But otherwise, everything's good. Everything's good.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Greg.
You're welcome.
Jeff, anything you want to input?
Well, only that we know that the Connecticut Port Authority has $34 million over the next 5 years to allocate for small harbor projects, and it would probably be worth our while to think of some projects that we could submit grant applications for.
Yes, and Michelle, would you please pass that through the city to the higher ups? And we've had conversations with them. I think it's time sensitive and money's there, and let's be first to grab it.
Oh, John, you want to make mention of the meeting that we had?
Go ahead, John. I'll let you.
No. We met at your place.
Right. Yeah, just to brainstorm some thoughts and ideas that need the further discussion. We did have a informal meeting just to brainstorm. Nothing consequential really came out of it.
Well, I thought there was.
Well, we did some exploratory stuff, and one of the things that we were going to do is to put an application in for money to do a study where to relocate the marine police, and the city already had it budgeted, and they're going out to RFP, and they're following up on it. And they had no desire for us to help in that regard. One of the other things going forward, once the RFP is done and the study's complete, and they recognize the location, depending on the scope and the size of the work, we could always apply for the money to build a marine facility.
The idea about the Port Authority is that they were pushing that the Harbor Management Commission be responsible and be the lead agency or lead group in submitting that application.
Correct. Which, in some regards, the city doesn't agree with that tact, but.
Well, if they don't agree with it, then they're not going to get it. I mean, they made it absolutely plain from the DOT, from the Connecticut Port Authority's point of view, that the Harbor Management Commission should be the lead individual or agency to do that.
Yep.
Did it have to be new work, or could it be for maintaining existing facilities?
It could be for maintaining existing facilities, but not for regular maintenance. If it was some.
Well, my thought goes straight to the application we were just made aware of, where Rexon Park is going to redo the Row 8 public facility.
That's
should they get in line for that?
And who would apply? Well, let them apply for it.
That would that would.
Well, but do they know it's there? This is John said we should let folks in the city. Well, there is some folks in the city that are doing something that could probably qualify for that, and should we make them aware? And you know, or would we need to actually partner with, or I suppose it would be the 5 Mile River Commission who would be the lead on that, because it's not our, they want a Harbor Commission stamp on it, Harbor Commission sign on, whatever.
One of the criteria that they've used to review these applications in the past is whether the proposed project is consistent with a local harbor management plan. There's no harbor management plan for the 5 Mile River, but that doesn't preclude them from, I guess, submitting an application. But the program was set up to provide support for Harbor Management Commission's proposals for harbor infrastructure and for projects that are in accordance with a local harbor management plan. But they can pursue it. Our interest was not in taking credit for anything, but into trying to accomplish something.
My question was merely, should we inform them of this pot of money that they could.
Well, again, basically we already have, because Mr. Bartish is here.
Make a run for,
you know, and
Parks and Rec is.
Yeah.
Okay.
John, there were other proposals that we had forward, wasn't there? You marked them down?
Go ahead, John. No, bring it up.
You know, right now I'm trying to remember what we had. We came up with 3. I know Matt was there with us. Discussed some of the projects.
Yeah, we talked about maybe facility, you know, all these ends of roads.
Street ends. We brought, you know,
right. We brought the street ends up as something that we can in the future take a look at doing. And,
who's going to write the proposal and lead it through? I mean, is my question. I guess we talk about it, but we could ask for money to really improve all these street ends as public access points with, you know, a little bit of lighting, a little bit of trash removal, and a sign to show where it is.
And a tie-up facility.
But who does the grant application? That's my.
Put the words on paper.
Traditionally, Jeff has done.
We did the grant application, Alan, that got the city $1 million for the city for the visitors.
For the visitors dock, we did that several years back.
We also did the application for I don't know how many $100,000 for dredging around the visitors dock. So we can do the application is not the issue. It's having a good project that's well thought out and that we have
that's fundable,
well thought out estimates of what the cost is going to be.
Wow.
Okay, any more discussion on those topics? All right, Shellfish Commission, Steve?
Sure, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just very briefly. So we had a presentation by Ms. Taisha Cole with respect to some oyster shell recycling work that she's interested in. They're currently looking for a site in Norwalk on the order of the size of a parking space. So if anyone has any ideas about that within the city, if you could contact me, I'd appreciate that separately. The commission also, as has been stated tonight, reviewed the 26 Shorefront Park dredging application. And I must say, your commission regularly asks for dock stops on floating dock applications, ostensibly to protect the benthic environment. This commission tonight had no objection to a proposal that essentially removes the benthic environment. I found that ironic and, with due respect, disappointing. Eat Norwalk shellfish. I yield back, sir.
Okay, Dennis, mooring and harbor safety.
Report.
Alan, do you want to give the financial report? Do you feel up to it?
Yeah, I'm just not really supposed to talk. I sent out both last year's full report and where we are year to date.
Why don't you just say as submitted?
As submitted. The only question I have really of Dennis is we're behind in our mooring revenue because of, I think Norwalk Yacht Club hasn't paid up yet.
I spoke to Norwalk Yacht Club. They do not have their field tied down yet. They expect to get that done within the next month. For some reason, they just seem to be behind, and we should be getting another check when they get that done.
Labor Day is sort of the end of the boating season, isn't it? In my view,
it's going to be September.
Technically, yeah, I guess. I mean, I made them aware of all the dates we need,
right?
And I've sent emails out. They're well aware that I'm looking for the final payment that reflects their inventory. And the fellow that's in charge at Norwalk is new to the system, so has some lag time going on and is trying to learn. So I'm on top of it. I'm trying to get it out.
So the only observation I'd make, and it's everything is very similar to the past year. Our the mooring side, the mooring online mooring charges are up a little bit, and looks like the mooring revenue is going to be down. That's
okay. Thank you.
I'll wait to see. Yeah.
Plans and recommendations, Jeff.
Thank you, John. During this meeting, I was emailing Jessica a number of times this past month and at this meeting, and John, you will see that email. She will have an answer.
I saw
yeah,
it.
she'll have an answer during
next
September.
meeting.
I asked for an update from the city as far as the proposed fee structure. She said that she'll have an update for the September meeting. Nothing
Newsletter website, Alan?
No report.
Water quality, Joe Schneiderline.
We have started to get updated to the minute data from USGS. I did send a link to John, and I asked him to send it out to the rest of you. I don't know if you've gotten it or not, but they have two monitoring stations. One is at the aquarium and the other is at Cove Marine. And each station gives you surface temperature, bottom temperature, surface salinity, bottom salinity, surface turbidity, bottom turbidity, as well as dissolved oxygen. And of note, for example, the bottom at Cove Marine, the highest temperature was 79.75 degrees. The surface was 81 degrees. It's almost like bath water. Now, what's significant about that is the warmer the water gets, the less dissolved oxygen it can hold. And what we found when I went through it for August so far, there were 19 days where dissolved oxygen levels at the aquarium dropped below 2 parts per million. And most fish require between 3 and 3.5 parts per million of oxygen. So it easily explains why there were so many dead bunker floating around in the harbor. And the nice thing is any of you from any desktop can access these links. So you can see what the temperature is right now, what the dissolved oxygen is right now, and what we're up against. The nice thing is, like at Cove Marine, they never had oxygen levels drop below 4 parts per million. So the outer harbor was really strong, but it was the inner harbor that had a tough time with it. Now, that could be because of the temperature alone, but it could probably also be a part of the large schools of menhaden that we had in there sucking up the oxygen. That's it. If any of you want those links, I'd be happy to email them to you if you didn't get them already.
Yeah, I didn't get them, Joe.
Okay.
When you said John, was it John Romano, John Crespo, or John Pinto? Did you say
John
that?
Romano.
Well, I don't remember getting it.
Okay. So I'll resend it.
Okay, perfect. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a remark? Anyone from the public that would like to make a remark or comment? Not hearing any, let's move to the approval of the minutes of the July 28th meeting. Someone make a motion to approve as amended? If amended?
I move to approve the minutes.
Second?
On the minutes, John?
Yes.
I just had one comment on the where I think in one of the, I guess on the minutes, there was a section there where I know you were seconding, were you seconding the motion?
I couldn't second that.
Yeah, if you noted, John, in the minutes, there was sections in there where you had mentioned that Mr. Stedman seconded the motion. I think that has to be stricken from the minutes.
No, I said Stedman.
No, John Crespo had on the minutes there. In the section there, it said, Mr. Stedman seconded that, that motion. I think that should be stricken from the record because it should be a commission member that would second it. Either that or don't put anything down there.
What was which motion was that, John?
There's a right in the beginning of the I'd have to go back to the original. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see here. I get the minutes here. Let me see if I get the minutes. Yeah, I think it's voting commission members, commission, treasury finances. Why can't I find this? Oh, here we are. Yeah, it said, the heck was this?
Oh,
728. Did you see that? Where? Let's see.
You mean the second page, John?
Yeah, let's see.
The top of the second page?
Yeah, let me, where's the heck here?
Yeah, it's on the second
Yeah, it says
page.
Mr. Stedman seconded the motion.
Right, the top of the second page, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and there's two sections in there too. You see that?
Yeah, one below the other, yeah.
Right, yeah. I think that should be stricken from the record.
Okay.
What was the motion?
It says Chairman Romano moved to move item 1 that was at 314 Wilson Avenue to the full commission. And underneath that, it says Mr. Stedman seconded the motion.
If I recollect, Jeff Mangle seconded.
Yes, it would have been.
Okay. All right. So then we'll leave that as
amended to Jeff
Mangles. Yeah, and under this too, and this is Commissioner Santel and Crespo joined the meeting, and this is Commissioner Grifford motion to approve the item 1 and submit it, and then it had now Mr. Stedman seconded the motion.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Mr. Mangles, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So want to approve the minutes as amended?
And then it says it should have Commissioner McDonald called the application review committee meeting to order.
Right.
Right. And check to see if Mr. Stedman's name, we have other, is spelled correctly in your copy. And where it says other in the names, the beginning.
Where is this?
Where it says, yeah, I know, but I have it in red, indicating that where it says other, where we have the attendees, attendance, right on top.
Yeah.
Is Mr. Stedman's name is Geoff?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Any other corrections?
And then I have no other comment.
Okay. Anybody else have any other comments? All right, a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
My motion.
Second.
Second, right?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Lori abstains. She wasn't there last month. Okay, so thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Adjourned.
Okay, thank you. Very nice meeting.
Thank you. Good night.
It's not in record time. Last month was in record time, but we got a lot accomplished. Thank you, everyone.
All right.